And as you know, tonight we're going to be hearing from candidates for both the Foley City Council, and so they'll be answering questions both for myself as well as from the audience. We do ask at the very beginning, all the candidates will give an introduction, as well as I'm going to ask you to prioritize your top 2 priorities for the position that you're running for, and then we'll run through some questions, and then at the end you'll have 1 minute to summarize or to tell us anything else that has not been shared about yourself. And then just for a couple rules, if you personally identify another candidate, the other candidate could have 30 to 60 seconds to respond back. And we just do that out of fairness. We do have a timer. Holly's going to time, and she'll give you the signal for 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and finally when to stop. So, and then I'll interrupt you if you keep on talking. So you'll have to talk above me, or otherwise not be heard. So, okay, let's begin with the Foley City Council. Our candidates are Jack Brosh, Rosalie Musacchio, and Gary Swanson. So we appreciate that. We'll ask questions in alternating order, and hopefully I'll get that right and not miss anyone. And so we'll first start here with Gary's first. And for 2 minutes, briefly summarize your personal background and experience and why you're running for the City Council office, and what would be your top 2 priorities.
All right, I'm Gary Swanson. I've been a long time resident of Foley. I graduated here at 65, military from 65 to 69, and I came back here, started my own business, trucking business, which I did for 40-some years. I retired October 15, 2015. I'm married. I have 3 adult children, 2 step-adult children, and they also are residents of Foley here in the community. I guess I've had a long life passion as being a resident here, as I was a council member from 74 to 1982. I did run for another term, but thought I had a shoe in. I didn't campaign. Of course, I got beat. So being retired and my passion for the community and caring for the people here, I decided to run again after being appointed to fill a 2-year term 2 years ago.
Thank you. So Rosalie, the same questions, background as well as experiences, why you're running, and your top 2 priorities for City Council.
First of all, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I grew up in Foley. My dad was one of the town doctors and a surgeon at St. Cloud Hospital. When the family relocated to St. Paul, we spent every summer in Foley until my dad died in 1971. I graduated from the College of St. Benedict with a major in government, and it's been an interest of mine to this day. I graduated from Gonzaga University Law School in Spokane in 1977 and practiced law in Toledo, Ohio for 40 years. 5 years ago, I retired and relocated back to Foley. I might be the only person that's ever done that, but I don't think so. Since my return, I've become a board member of Foley Area Care, which assists our seniors in staying in their own homes, and I'm president of the Bridge Lake Chain Association in Palmer Township. I also serve on the Foley City Planning Commission. I'm interested in being on the Foley City Council because there are many issues Foley faces today and in the future. My top priorities, and I think the city's top priorities, I'll name 2. One is the Highway 23 Safe Walk to School plan, and the city's decision on a new sewage plan for Foley. I think we also must plan for the future of our city. I read on the internet, everyone sits in the shade of a tree planted by someone in the past, and there are many options which the city council can consider for the next 4 years. I think the goal of our city council should be to ensure the health and safety of all of our citizens and the protection of our homes and economic well-being. If I am privileged to be your city council member, I will study issues and listen to all of you and try to make good choices for our city with the city council. Thank you very much.
And go ahead too for Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack Brush. I've been in the area since '96. We lived outside of Ronaby. Now I have 2 adult children. Tanner, he's a sophomore in Jamestown, and my daughter is a senior this year in Foley, and she is leaning towards attending Jamestown as well for nursing. Tanner's mechanical engineering. So I've been rooted here for 20 plus years. I ran for mayor, I ran for council in the past, I even ran for commissioner 1 year, and have not been elected on any of those endeavors that I took forth there. 20 years in corrections with the state of Minnesota. Had an opportunity to work at the highway department. I applied and got hired out there, so I quit with the state. And I'm the sign technician slash ag inspector slash operating engineer out there. So sounds really important, but I'm just a guy that plows snow most of the time. Other than that, my 2 priorities would be more housing in Foley. I think we've pretty much used up all the vacant lots from what I can tell. And with that, of course, you're going to have to do something with the sewer. And now they're talking about a liaison officer in the schools here with the city doing a split. I don't know how the split would work money-wise. Like I said, I was in corrections 20 years, so I understand a lot of how that sharing would go with different departments. So, thank you.
Thank you. For the next minute, could each of you give your thoughts about how to keep the local economy growing in the next decade when the workforce is barely expected to grow as baby boomers retire? And we'll start with Rosalie and then Jack and Tyler.
Well, I think we all face a challenge. I think the state of Minnesota does, and I think Foley in particular does. We don't have a whole lot of plan for economic development within the city of Foley. There are some things that we can do. There's telecommuting. There's, I think what we really struggle with here, we're a farming town, but we really struggle with housing. I think housing will be much assisted with our new sewer system. I think our primary employers are the county and schools. I also think that, from what I've read, half the people in Foley work outside of town. Half the people who work in town live elsewhere. And I think we need some plans to lure those people into our retail market.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jack.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, glad to. What thoughts do you have for the next minute about how to keep your local economy growing here in Foley in the next decade when the workforce is expected to barely grow as baby boomers retire?
Everything is on the internet nowadays. If you're not buying something on it, I don't know. I don't know how to create business because you don't have to leave your house anymore to get anything brought to you. You can have your groceries brought to you. You can have your dog food, you name it. Everything just gets sold. I think I've heard of people talking now where they're going to have more independent shippers because FedEx, UPS, I used to work for all these companies, I used to build the conveyor systems, can't keep up to the demand. So speedy delivery, all these guys, I think there's opportunity there for someone to set up some kind of a speedy system too in this area and have the deliveries work that way. I think that'd be a very, very good growth business because I don't see technology slowing down any. Thank you.
Okay. Gary?
Well, that's really sometimes a hard question to answer. We have one of the finest communities, I think, small communities in the area. We have a lot to offer: education, our churches, and a lot of other fine things in our community. There are some very good employment opportunities here. Talk to people. They have a hard time finding people to work. Granted, they're probably not the best, as stated here. A lot of people work out of town. We have to increase our industrial capabilities and in our housing. And to do this, of course, one of them is to update our water waste facilities here. And until that's done, we're kind of limited in what we can increase as far as those. But if we can maintain the good things that we always have, we do have something very good to offer for those looking for some place to settle down.
Some of you have mentioned the sanitary sewer, so let us expand that a little bit with this question. Please respond in 60 seconds if you see a need for adding additional debt or for the Foley taxpayers, such as in the sanitary sewer system, and why. And it would be, is it Jack's turn?
With my previous job, 20 years of corrections, I worked in Sherburne, Mille Lacs, and Benton County as a sentence service crew leader. I worked for all the cities doing various projects in these communities. Everyone ran into the same problem. We got to do something with the sewer systems. We got to do something with sewer systems. Well, at some point, you got to bite the bullet and do a wastewater treatment facility. It's going to be a cost. There's no doubt about it. But unless you're just going to keep building pond upon pond upon pond, that's not going to be the answer either. So I'm in favor of spending the money. I know it's going to raise everyone's taxes, but that's how it is.
Moving on to Gary.
Yeah, this is, the wastewater project is something that we all don't like to look at because it's very expensive. But until we can update this, we're kind of limited to where we can go with our housing and our extended industrial parks. We have some options. We can build ponds. We're limited to what and where we can go with them. We can transfer to other city, or we can go mechanical. Our staff, our office staff has worked very hard in relating with some hurdles that we've had to cross, and it's allowed us to get some better grant money out there and to get some better state and federal backing. It's a matter of looking at some monetary figures and deciding which ways to go, betterment for the community and the taxpayers in mind.
Rosalie.
I think that we're expanding the sewer system. I think that's the best thing we can do for the town. There's going to be some cost. I think that we do that with bonds so that we, during our lifetime, pay for some of the sewer. The next generation, while they're still using that sewer we built, continue to pay for that sewer. Always the issue of cost is a big concern. The whole state of Minnesota is facing this issue. All the rural areas are working on the sewer system. We raised the water bills in Foley. They're going to go up a little more every year, and that's just a requirement to get a bond from the state. So yes, there will be a cost. I think that it's the responsibility of City Council to study hard, listen to the people, look at the figures, and make the best choice that you possibly can. But not doing the right thing is not protecting our housing values. We all own homes or we live in the city. If Foley takes a dive because you can't flush your toilets, you're in big trouble. Thank you.
We have a question from the audience, and that is, could you identify 2 problems facing Foley in the future? And we start again with Gary.
What's it?
Yes. Please identify 2 problems facing Foley in the future.
Okay. Well, like we've been discussing wastewater management. That is something that is very crucial, and as far as I'm concerned, one of the top items. Our highway safety project, we're working very diligently with the school. They're working very cooperative with the city, and I think with MnDOT, and we can all come to agreement what has to be done there. Our housing, again, our housing industrial plan to be induced and expanded is always a problem. But of course, to try and keep all this at a happy medium and a level taxpayer affordability.
Rosalie?
Yes, the first thing I would say is I'm on the board of Foley Area Care, and I had some education, which really surprised me. The demographics in Minnesota are pretty scary. In the next about 10 years, we're going to have as many seniors as we have children, and that is in Benton County and throughout the state. We're going to be dealing with a lot of senior citizens in town. And we have to look very carefully about it with our infrastructure, our police department, our recreation, our churches. We have to learn how to deal with this changing demographic. The second thing I do think is the health and safety issues. And I, for one, am not convinced the POM system is a healthy system for us or our children. I think Highway 23, there's a plan years from now to reroute it around the city. In the meantime, we have people getting in crashes. So I think those safety issues are really important.
Jack, you need the question asked again?
Nope. Okay. A couple downfalls. I could see if the clinic would ever shut down, that'd be a very deterrent for the city. I'd like to see the clinic expanded or a new clinic built. I think that would help tremendously to the community. And the other thing was the downtown is just losing businesses left and right. It seems like to me there's so many vacant buildings, so I don't know if it needs to be some of these old buildings torn down and new ones put up. If that's the answer to bring the downtown back to life, as Rosalie said, if they do plan on moving Highway 23 around the city as a not a detour but a bypass, the downtown will dry up just like you see in a lot of these other towns across Minnesota when they've done that in the past.
The next question for just a minute, and we'll start with Rosalie and go around again. Some citizens, and it's been mentioned, are concerned about both child and adult safety on the sidewalks and for children going to school. What are your thoughts, and how can the city be involved in that?
I think Minnesota has a new philosophy, which is make streets safe for everyone, not just for the cars. And City of Foley has gotten a grant to try to make Highway 23 safer. I've looked at that plan. I think that's a good plan. We have to match those grant funds, but I think we need to slow down the traffic. I think as we progress here, more people are walking, they're biking, they're unable to drive anymore because they're getting too old, and I think we have to make our streets safe for everybody. I think the Highway 23 program is good. I think our new sidewalks are kind of scary, but I'm not sure those slanted sidewalks make me nervous, but I'm not sure what we can do to solve that. I think we need to study that and see if we can make a little bit of improvement.
And go ahead, Jack.
With the new, or not new, with the Dewey Street and 4th Avenue being rebuilt, there's been more sidewalks added, even in added or updated. And with my job at the county, we've installed roundabouts all throughout Sauk Rapids, and of course there's sidewalks involved there to get people to and from safely. The biggest issue is people just are in a hurry to go nowhere when they're driving, and that's the honest to God's truth. That's why people get hit. They're not looking for people walking across the sidewalk because they shouldn't be in the sidewalk or crossing the street is their rationale, I see. So you can hang as many signs as you want sometimes for people to slow down, but they're not going to slow down. They get to a hockey game or wherever they're going with their kid, they're not looking at anyone else except themselves, so that's the biggest issue.
Okay, good. And Gary?
Safety is always going to be an issue. I think we've done quite a bit on our own already. The city maintenance people, we got them to put out some pedestrian signs on Highway 23. We have some speed signs and radar reading signs that should be established by end of November, maybe. We went ahead and did that with the school's help. That was to be, fathered in by grant money, but we thought, 2 years down the road it's going to be too late, so we went ahead and adjusted to do that. The city, I think, has done a fine job with their street maintenance and updating the sidewalks and whatever in residents and the main street. I want to thank everybody for their patience too, as it seems to have taken a long time. There's some things that we have no control with. That's the way the sidewalks have to be designed. Something to do with, correct me if I'm wrong, is it ADA, whatever it may be. So we have no control.
One last question before your closing comments, and this time I'll just do it for 30 seconds, so it's really quick. Share your thoughts on how Foley can keep the neighborhood safe, particularly with other cities such as Wade Park having difficulty with sex trafficking. 30 seconds, and we do start with Jack. You have all the answers in a few seconds, right?
I guess I didn't know there was an issue with sex trafficking in Wade Park, but I guess get to know your neighbors a little better, maybe. I don't know. I've never heard of this in the previous, I guess, so I don't know the answer to this question. Sorry.
We can move on to Gary.
Well, it's the neighborhood watch. Everybody's heard of it. Every community's had it. I don't know if it's endorsed here, but if everybody watches, everybody's back, and just be kind and resourceful with each other. I think it'll help a lot. If you see anything wrong, by all means, contact the authorities or make it come to mind to somebody's attention. I mean, it's all our responsibility. I think our police force is doing very well, and we can only do so kind, but we have to help also.
And Rosalie.
I think that keeping our neighborhoods safe involves strong neighborhoods, and I don't see any organized effort to make our neighborhoods strong. I do, however, know that it is so much easier in a small town to know your neighbors. Lived in a larger city for a long time, and we had the paper out, so I knew everybody. But I think Foley is blessed with wonderful neighbors. I think that we could do a neighborhood program to strengthen our neighborhoods.
And the very concluding question for your last minute is, why are you the best candidate for this position for city council, and what else do you want to tell us about yourself or your views that you haven't been able to share so far? We started with Gary before, and I know it's his turn to start now, but we're going to go ahead and start with Jack and go backwards this way, just to be fair on the first and last questions. Go ahead, Jack.
I guess I'd be the best candidate because I've been in government for 25 years working for them, and I understand how slow it can go sometimes to get an answer resolved. With my job right now, like I said, I do most of the signing in the county, or all the signing, I should say. But with the safe ways to school, there's all kinds of new flashing lights you can put up, and some are worth the money, some aren't. But so I have a lot of knowledge on that, been to a lot of classes on it, what I've seen works in other communities, and where you should spend your money. Again, back to the liaison officer with the school, I think that would be a very good idea. Just we need to hammer out the details as far as having someone in the community, or someone hired and then working in the schools. I remember Sherburne County had their officer back in '95 when I started there, And that was Don Starry, and now he's the under sheriff at the Sherburne County. So a very successful program, and I can see it working out well here in Foley.
Thank you. And then we'll go ahead with Rosalie.
Yes, I think city council faces a lot of issues in the next 4 years and in the future. I am very interested in Foley. I'm very interested in government. I've been a lawyer for 40 years, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but I do remember when I went to college, they told me the purpose of education is to become self-educating. I believe that I have accomplished that when there's a problem, I know how to study. I promise I will listen to the city of Foley citizens as to what they want, because that's a very important thing. And also, I do think I have the ability to work with other members of the city council, because there's one vote, there's 5 city council members. You can have great ideas, and if you can't work with the other people, nothing happens. So I believe my ability to be cooperative and pleasant is probably a good asset.
Thank you. And Gary, for your closing minute.
All right, I've had 20 years on the fire department, so I'm very capable of working with the fire department, local and rural. I've had 8 years experience on the council before, and like I said, my passions are helping the community to where it is and to grow. A person told me once, you're not going to make everybody happy, it's impossible. But if you make one person happy, you did your job. So that's my goal.
Thank you. Can we give a round of applause?